expressed here are not supported by and do not reflect those of the Evening Rush Network. Viewers' discretion is advised.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are now plugged in with Molly and Joe, the Mental Warriors podcast, along with our special guest for this season, for the rest of the duration of this podcast, and wherever we go, is going to be Zachariah Israel right there with us. Zachariah. Unfortunately, we don't have our brother Joe, who is exploring in his world of tourism. He's doing what you said, a tourism board meeting.
Yeah, board meeting. Yeah.
Yeah, tourism board meeting. So he won't be with us tonight. All right, sad, 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 sad. You know, I don't know. We ain't got no boohoo. We ain't got no crying going on our little engineering board, but you know, it's a sad day. We don't have when the three of us ain't together. You know, I don't feel complete. You know what I'm saying? I actually felt the way last week. I apologize to everybody. For not being here last week, but I'm here now. All right. And topic of the day today is exploring Black Power. Exploring Black Power. We're gonna dig into that a little bit with and let you guys know what we think Black Power is today, as well as what we thought it was in the past. All right. Of course, we're going to have our segment, our paying homage segment, where myself and Zachariah is going to choose a couple of people that that we're going to pay. It's making our ancestors proud, right?
That's right. That's right.
Okay, this week is making our ancestors proud. Sorry about that. So 1 week is paying homage to our ancestors, meaning those who has passed on into the afterlife and to whatever realm you believe in. And then the following week is making our ancestors proud. That's the people that's here and doing the damn thing, putting in the work. You know what I mean? That could be people that's personal to us. That could be people that's very nine to us. It could be local politicians. It could be somebody major, as they would call it, one of the major names or what have you. And, so that's what we're doing today. All right, and then of course we got current events. Current events is where we go into different little topics throughout the nation, throughout the world, throughout the country, throughout our state, throughout our personal little spaces and whatnot, and we speak to these things that's happening in our community and worldwide. All right, we're also on how many platforms we on? What platforms we on, Zachariah?
Oh, so many. Here we go. We are on. Slow here, huh?
Yeah, Amazon Music is one.
Amazon, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Pandora, Stitcher. Missing a few. Podchaser.
Tune in.
I'm going to the top of my head. I'm not even looking at the list, but there's so many.
Tune in. Reasons Podcast, Google Podcast, Facebook. Well, we got Anchor.fm, we got Mixcloud, we got iTunes Podcast, and of course the EveningRushNetwork.com. All right. We got it says you can also download the Evening Rush app as well. They got an app for that as well on both Apple and Android, iOS and Android. All right. So as we proceed to give you what you need, how was your week, Zachariah?
Good. Can't complain, man. Not as good as last week. Or my bad. Better than last week. Not as good as next week. Right. So I mean, just try to keep a positive frame of mind, man. And we all got our own personal endeavors we trying to pursue and during the struggle. But I'm trying to keep a positive frame of mind through everything.
Well, as you should, brother. As you should. I mean, you're one of the good guys, as they say. So
I'm trying to be.
I want try. Aren't we all right? I mean, that's what we're striving for. Perfection is something that we can't obtain, so therefore, striving for it is all we can be best at, right? So therefore, my week was pretty pretty average. I mean, I wouldn't say it was average. We had a little family get together Saturday night. It was good to see some old faces and stuff like that. Shout out to the Matthias family. Love them to death. Um, yeah, that's a different breed. What else?
Definitely.
Oh, last week's show, man. I want to give y'all a shout out, man. I really appreciate y'all giving me a shout out as one of the good guys as far as being a good father and
Absolutely.
having, and I want to give a shout out to Sean Dawn. That's another one of them good dads out there, them good fathers that you know understand what I'm saying? I mean, 'cause he handled his.
Yeah.
You know
Give
what I mean?
yourself a gunshot.
Yeah, give yourself a gunshot, right? Right. Yo, the funny part is you be hearing him, boy. It be going down up in his house, boy. It be like, man, listen, he got from babies to damn near adults.
Yeah.
So shout out to Sean Dawn for being one of them good guys, man. Last week's show, I'm really upset I missed last week's show because of that, because it was about fatherhood, and that's
Yeah.
really nigh unto me. But my head, I was in a bad headspace at the time. My son wasn't feeling well, so that I was being a father. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the funny
There you
part.
go.
I was being a father.
Yeah.
So, no kudos to me because that's just something I love to do. All right.
Yeah.
So,
That's right.
Zachariah, I'm the
Yeah.
sports guy, the resident Nick fan. We
Yeah.
suck right now, so I ain't really gonna talk about it. Um,
He
yo, you
let that one
good,
play.
bro?
Hey, I
Yo,
think he let that play a little longer too.
yo, you good, bro? Yo, I didn't even know it could play that long. Zachariah, wait, wait.
Oh,
Wait, I
that's
didn't even
funny.
know it could play that long, bro. Wait,
Sean,
did
you
you know
wrong.
it could play that long? Huh? Wait
Oh
a level.
man,
How the laugh track play so long,
I
bro?
think he looped it.
The
Oh man.
Nets is doing but the thing about the Nets is I don't I don't even know why. I don't know
Gunshot.
why he even trust the Nets right now. James Harden is not looking good. They only really have Durant. Kyrie Irving is waiting
Mm.
for a vegan vaccine shot.
Oh,
Kyrie,
wow.
Ky-
Oh wow.
Kyrie Irving waiting for a vegan vaccine shot,
Did
bro.
he say that? Did he say that?
Yes, he said that.
Oh my
It's in the
gosh.
New York Post. It's in the New
Oh,
York Post. I don't know. I don't know how relevant, or how. Yeah, he is rich already. He can do that. Yes,
yeah, you can.
I'd wait for the vegetarian. And mind you, his scam is. Let me tell you, his scam is, bro. He still get paid half his salary for the season.
Well, there you go. There
Come
you go.
on,
Yes, a
he still
stipulation in
get
the
paid,
contract that was already put in.
right?
They foresaw this coming.
Because the only place that has a mandate. You know what I mean? The only place that has a mandate is New York.
Yeah.
So they said that he can't play in New York. He can't play in home games, but he can play in the away games. What he
Oh no,
decided to do
man.
is like, listen,
I mean,
right?
I lived in New York, for a while, so I could speak on, what it's like being there, and I don't know, man. To me, New York, when it comes to laws and politics, it's kind of like how Texas is the Lone Star state, and that they
Mhm.
do their own thing. When it comes to New York and New York City, man, on the five boroughs, it's like there's laws that hit first there that are more strict and more
But
more
that's because
targeted.
we're the guinea pigs,
Yeah,
bro.
man.
You know
Yeah,
that.
man.
You know
It's
that. That's the
crazy.
reason why. That's the reason why we have a little swag that we do have. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Because we're
oh
the
yeah.
guinea pigs. We got to endure a whole lot before everybody else do. So at the end of the day, listen. That's why New York is the way they is. All
Oh
right.
yeah.
So moving right on along, right? Because we want to say who's making our ancestors proud, right? Let's go on to our next segment. Making our ancestors proud. Zach, who you got for us this week, brother?
Um, well, I'm going to speak about former quarterback from the San Francisco 49ers,
Mm-hmm.
um, turned activist, civil rights activist, and I would call him what he's on his way to being a black community, a black leader, in as far as civil rights is concerned in this country. And he started out just by a silent, nonviolent. I wouldn't even call it a protest because all he did was take a knee.
A statement. It was a
I
statement.
made a statement in which
Mhm.
we're supposed to have freedom of speech in this country. we don't even have freedom of body language. You know what I'm saying? And that's all he did was take a knee. And what he was talking about basically is, against what's happening in the black community, that nothing's being done. The police are killing, mostly black youth, but black Americans every day, and nothing's happening about it. So he took a knee, in response to that, to say, well, when you guys play the national anthem and you guys are so proud of this country, it's not against the flag. That's like people try to misinterpret it as that.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
and I like to say that he maybe didn't foresee all of this coming, but if you watch Colin in Black and White on Netflix, which we're gonna talk about in next week's show, and so if you watch that, we see he was almost being groomed for what he is now. His whole life, even though he sought out to be a football star, a quarterback. He sought out to be that from day one. And little did he know that was just going to be the stepping stone for the platform that he would ultimately shine on, which is now making a difference and going down in history as one of the most prolific athlete black activists of our era. So big ups to Colin Kaepernick. We're gonna talk about him more next week and do a little segment on that.
Yes, 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 yes. If you don't know, what's the name of that Netflix show you want
It's
that
called
we?
it's called it's called Colin in Black and White.
Yes, Colin in Black and White.
Yeah.
The plug with Molly and Joe, along with Zachariah. We're gonna have a little. We're gonna speak. That's gonna be our topic of the week next week. So Don, understand that right now, real quick, because Don be he man, listen, we be messing with him sometimes. I think we gotta start. We gotta start. We gotta start getting our topic in. But it'd be so much to think about, man. Right? It'd be man.
Yeah.
It's so much, right?
Yeah. Do we got a pick of Colin Kaepernick?
Yeah. No, well, I don't know. We have a pick of Colin Kaepernick right now, but
Okay.
I mean, everybody know what he looked like. That big fro. Everybody wants a name. All right.
Yeah.
So they do know it's Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah. I mean, I think we okay.
Yeah.
All good.
I'm
It's
not
all good. We're gonna do a whole segment on him next week, so it's all good. We
Yeah.
have a lot more to show and say.
No. No, he did say Colin Kaepernick, producer extraordinaire. Don't worry about it. Our producer
Yeah.
extraordinaire in our ear, like yo, he said Colin Kaepernick.
All
Yeah.
good. All good. We get in more into that next week anyway.
Yeah, don't worry about it. It was Colin Kaepernick that he spoke of. If you didn't know, that's who it was. All right.
Hmm.
So my pick for who's making an ancestor proud is the one and only Clarence Avant. All right. Um, unfortunately, we had to speak about his wife Jacqueline Avant passing this past week due to gun violence. Someone came into their home and to rob their home, and and she was shot, fatally shot. Never say once. Oh man, listen, this man right here, he inspires me to continue in the journey that I'm on because I look at myself as someone who might not be the most talented in the world or what have you, but I have a good eye for what works. You know what I mean? And I think that's the main thing about him. He's responsible for so much people in the music industry. I mean, we're talking about he was a film producer, he's a music producer, he's an entrepreneur, he's just an overall upstanding gentleman. I mean, like he's one of the go-to guys in the industry, and that's in any industry. You're talking about politics, you're talking about his best friend being Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton. And then also he's helping Barack Obama get his nomination because I mean, you look at his documentary, the Black Godfather. Um, Barack Obama calls him and like, yo, I need to get in prime time, and that's that famous speech that got Barack Obama into the mainstream. So when you look at a man like this that actually touched the lives of so many people and touched our lives, we don't even know it. You know what I mean? When you're talking about sitting on the dock of the bay, or you're talking about "Lean on Me," songs that inspire, that's trans, that goes past generations and such. Um, yeah, this man doesn't get enough clout because I just learned about him this year.
Same here.
I just learned about this man this year, and that's what I love about it. Oh my God, I love the
Yeah.
fact that he was in the background,
Oh man.
moving and shaking so much, and you don't know him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because he did it from a different place. If you watch the documentary, The Black Godfather, you will be inspired because he did it from a different place than most people do it from, and that's from the heart. And that's where we do it from. We do it from the heart. We're giving this to you guys live and direct from the heart. All of this information, all of this type of knowledge where you make you think and make you try to figure it out. And it comes from men like Clarence Avant to make people like myself, Molly, make people like Zachariah, make people like Joe, and we don't even know him. But guess what? That's the movers and the shakers in the background. The same way you know what I mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
brother. Yeah, brother. He was basically the powers that be. Yep,
Yeah.
yep. You hit it right on the head, my brother Underhill. You hit it right on the head, man. He was basically the powers that be, and I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
I'd rather be that. Listen, I'd rather be that than anybody in the forefront, bro.
Yeah.
I'd rather be a Clarence Avant than
You know,
any. Go ahead.
people in the forefront often have the platform and opportunity to make differences, but
Hmm.
because you're in the forefront, you can't do certain things that you could do behind the scenes. You know what I mean?
Correct.
They have an image to uphold. They have the public eye on them at all times. So, like you said, some men in the background, like Clarence Avant, doing the work that he did,
Mm.
and I definitely want to see that. I was going to ask what platform might I find that documentary on?
That's on Netflix.
Okay, I'm gonna
Shout
check
out,
that out.
shout out to Netflix. I mean, hopefully
Okay.
they'll see us one day and want us on their want to start putting our podcasts on their stuff, start
Yeah.
putting our content up there and whatnot, or something that we come up with. Man, listen, we could do our own documents. We could figure it out.
Oh
We'll
yeah.
get up. We could get up there. You know.
Oh yeah.
But you know that's that. Those are two people that's making our ancestors proud. Colin Kaepernick, Clarence Avant. Shout out to them. Boardman, can we get some claps for them? Can we get some claps for them? Alrighty, next up, our next segment is current events. I love current events because it gives us a chance to look into things that I don't like the news. I'll be honest with y'all guys. I'll be honest with you guys. I do not like the news. I do not like watching the news. I mean, it's so what is it? Full
Drip.
circle that it's full circle, bro. I've seen
Yeah.
it all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not to say I've seen it all, but it's like it's nothing that's going to surprise me, and then it's depressing. You know what I mean? Because it could be so much better.
It's not a repeat, but it's a repeat of the same subjects, and it's all meant to build a certain heaviness, to bring a certain heaviness or a certain
Mhm.
concern, or have people on their toes or in fear. Like I don't know. Today, the more I watch TV, is the more I actually see how much of a programming it really is. You know.
Well, that's the reason why they say TV programming, right?
Yeah. If you
So-
I don't know if you're familiar with this. There was a program. Ah man, I want to find it. I don't want to call it a program. There was an actual documentary on. Believe it was on Netflix. I have to find out the name to be exact. But it showed one scene where
Mhm.
on the screen it showed about 100 different thumbnail videos of the news from all over the country, and they
That was
speaking about the same stories, and they all saying the same exact script.
okay.
So
No
that tell
question.
you right there. At the same time, they were all playing it, and it just a little. Some of them, the speed of the voices was slower and faster, obviously, but they were
Mhm.
all saying the same exact thing, and they were taken from
Hey,
all over the country. So how is that if it's not
right.
a programming?
Well, so let's get with our daily programming, right?
Yeah, there we
U.S.
go.
billionaire Michael Steinhardt has surrendered 180 stolen relics worth an estimated $70 million and
Mm.
agreed to an unprecedented. Now, this is the unprecedented part. Hold on. The unprecedented part for me is not that he's not in jail. The unprecedented part is he has a lifetime ban on acquiring antiquities. Officials in Manhattan have said. Investigators found that Steinhardt, one of the world's largest ancient art collectors, was in possession of looted artifacts smuggled out of 11 countries by 12 criminal networks, according to a statement from the Manhattan District Attorney's Office on Monday. For decades, Michael Steinhardt displayed a appetite for plundered artifacts without concern for the legality of his actions.
Mm.
Bro. That is like white privilege at its finest. You know
Tell me
what
about it. He could run up in a tomb, just grab something from an ancient tomb.
I'm
You
saying?
know, that's that Raiders of the Lost Ark stuff. You know, he was just
Yo,
going
is he
around.
not?
He was just going around jacking these things. Like, no, I'm gonna keep it safe. You guys
Yeah,
don't
right.
deserve to have it.
Right? Come
Yeah,
on, man. That is
come
black. That
on,
is
man.
white privilege in itself. Because basically, you're stealing. You know what I mean?
Of course.
You're not supposed to have these stolen relics. Because mind you, they're thinking they're somewhere else. Someone stole them and you bought them. Like, come on, man. You should be in jail, bro. Come on.
Yeah,
That is
absolutely,
crazy, man.
absolutely.
That
Instead, he
is.
got a ban. He's got a ban from going into antique shops now.
Oh wow! Isn't that so sweet, right? So next topic: dozens of weapons confiscated from students over
Mm.
3 days at a Brooklyn school. Uh, man, listen, what's new? That's my thing. My thing with
Yeah,
this, with
yeah,
that one is what's new. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I'm glad. What I'm just happy you confiscated them. Like to keep them out there. Like at least to me, you're doing your job. No,
Yeah, 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 yeah. They doing what they're supposed to do to confiscate them. I mean, but here's the thing now too, right? So that this says a lot of different behind in between the lines. You got to read it, and this says a lot of different things. So first of all, why are there so many guns at these schools or in this community where they can end up having them? Number one. Number
right,
two. Number two. How they confiscated them? More than likely, there's metal detectors in the school, which tells you if there's a metal detector or if there's not, what are they doing? Checking bags or whatever, right? So
hmm
it just goes to tell you there's an actual systematic practice to police children. You know
hmm
what I mean? And okay, now it's justified because you found guns, right? So how they got there in the first place, y'all put them in the community. Then now when they end up in the schools, you put these since we know these are communities where you gotta police them because they're out there. And then the next thing you
right,
know, they got the kids being it's not like you traveling nowhere. You going to school. This ain't TSA. You know what I'm
right.
saying?
So one of our writers said, confiscation is what was that? Confiscation is reactive. Prevention is better
Better
than
than cure. That's right.
yeah, that's something that you should just ride in life with. If
That's right.
anybody didn't
That's
understand that,
right.
that's a motto you should have throughout life because of the simple fact that's how it should go. Period. You know what I mean? You should be more preventative than anything else. Reactive, you're too late. Right?
I mean, and Molly, me and you is not strangers to the street life, right?
Right.
If
Right.
if you carrying a weapon, 9 times out of 10, it's not because you was planning to go kill somebody. It's because you in an environment where you feel you needed to protect yourself. So
Right. And
why they feel like that at school?
because these kids do think they have to protect themselves. I
Yeah,
mean, so
exactly.
we like the writer said, like someone who wrote in said, we gotta be proactive in getting these guns out of these kids' hands. So we have to start
Definitely.
being the beacons of light for these kids to start coming to and getting the help they need to where they feel like, you know what, I don't need this gun because what?
That's
I got
right.
too much to
That's right.
lose. You know what I
That's
mean?
right.
Because that's just a mentality in itself, because literally you got too much to lose.
And
You know
that's
what I
why
mean?
it's our job. It's our job to also preach a free thinking mentality by educating them on what the systematic agenda is, so that now you're not somebody putting a key in your back to make you believe you need a gun. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? You actually become a free thinker and say, nah, man, I'm not gonna become victim to this systematic
Right.
agenda where they
So
want us to kill each other.
right. So I mean, because you know how we do, man. I mean, we get into a topic and we'll start
Rambling on forever because there's
you
so
know
much
that
to talk
because
about.
it's so much to talk about, and it's so hurtful for our people to have to go through this all the time. You know what I mean? Because why? Like the writer, someone wrote in and said, "How are these kids getting these guns? Who is putting these
Yeah.
guns in these? Who's putting the guns in these kids' hands? They
Okay.
can't go to a regular store like Walmart or something
Nah.
like down south.
Yeah.
We actually have regulations up here in New York that prevents them from getting guns as easily as they can do down south. So how are they getting all of these weapons? And mind you, it said weapons. So it's not all guns, just to let you
Okay.
know. But it probably
Okay.
was some guns, but it probably was a knife, probably was some. So
Mhm.
we're gonna give it the benefit of the doubt, right?
Okay.
So um there was an arrest made in the fatal shooting of Jacqueline Avant. That's a blessing. You know, what I mean, we don't have to speak on that too tough. You know what I'm saying? There was an arrest made. I'm glad. Hopefully, we get some justice in that situation. You know,
Yeah.
what you
Uh,
think?
Again, man, people like her, I think, are on a list, and because of him, because of his work, you know what I mean.
Right.
And so, I just don't think it was random, man. I'm always gonna be that guy that's always looking too deep into it, because at the end of the day, when you find out later on, you be like,
It
damn,
wasn't. Yeah,
you know what I
I
mean?
agree. I agree to some point. I mean, I've heard that the suspect had some affiliations or something like that.
Hmm.
Not sure if it was
Hmm.
Matt, was that random, but it
I mean,
was
did you see him? Did you see him when they were bringing him out on, like, sort of that chair stretcher? Did you see that
yeah. I
movement?
mean, yeah, he seemed comfortable, right?
No, brother, look out of his mind.
Yeah, I mean, why not? I mean,
He's over
shoot,
here talking. He's like talking to the police, like looking around like crazy. And I'm like, I don't know, man. That's just like, I just feel like we could watch the news. We could talk about crisis actors. We could talk about planted seeds. I don't know, man. To me, I don't believe none of it, and I always think there's a deeper agenda at hand.
I mean,
Especially
yeah,
when there's people that powerful, and the story is about someone
right.
that powerful.
So there's a city in South Carolina, Clemson, South Carolina, who actually honors Ray Charles because he sang there during the Jim Crow era. Yes. A shout out, yeah. The sad part is that, I mean, Ray Charles is dead and gone, and these are the kind of posthumous um,
Yeah, yeah.
accolades we are used to now
Mhm.
because we never get the acknowledgement when we're alive to all the greatness that we're about. But at least it's something, right?
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
something, right?
at some point, it's sort of like you left behind a mark, so it deserves anybody that makes history in a positive light. That's always a good thing, even if it came about after he died. I feel like that's still a good thing, and then it makes people talk about him and see who he really was. You know, yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's definitely a good thing. I got another one that I mean, it's actually close to home. We're going to speak to it a little quickly. Racial pay gaps are an issue in every industry. Nowhere is it worse than in influencer marketing. Influencer marketing is this podcasting and social media and Instagram and all that other good stuff. So they're
Hmm.
saying there's a big pay gap, in what we're doing as opposed to what they're doing.
Oh yeah.
All right. I mean, it said a study published Monday suggests that black content creators make significantly less money than their white counterparts.
Hmm.
And that's actually a study. The
Hmm.
report titled "Time to Face the Influencer Pay Gap" looked at issues of annual income, size of followings, the amounts influencers were offered for deals, and more. It was published by the public relations firm MSL US in partnership with the Influencer League, an influencer education organization. Okay, so it's basically just letting you know that we get the short end of the stick all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of similar to what we talked about on that show, about working. What was it, working while black?
Yeah,
And we talked about the different opportunities not available, but then once you do get certain jobs, there is a ceiling and there is a pay gap. You get paid less than the white counterparts
hmm
to do the same job. And also between male and female, females always get the lower pay as well. But so I mean, this is not something new. This has been going on. It's just that
right,
people. It's almost like that. Oh, shut up! You got the job. Don't complain. You got a job. Don't complain. You know
right,
what I
right.
mean? But
But that's
but
the same as coming out of slavery when they was like, you got food on
yeah,
your plate.
exactly, man. Exactly.
So so that
Oh,
is
and if
our
you want, if one more thing, if you want to talk about the content creators, right? I know we're getting ready to go to commercial, but real quick, a lot of these content creators, they get picked up and get these deals, these bigger deals to get on TV and stuff. That's why I big up Nick Cannon, because most of his staff on Wild 'N Out are black content creators from social media,
right,
YouTube. You know what I mean?
right.
So we need more stuff like that,
Yes,
for the black community.
indeed. We do need more black content. I don't care what they paying us. Make them pay us. Make them pay us more. The same way they did in hip hop. The same they
That's
did in
right.
R&B. The same they did in every aspect of what we ever did. We made them pay us our worth. So we can still do that on this platform and any other platform. All this content and all this stuff we giving them, we can do it still. We can make them pay what they owe. All right. So Dr. Boyce Watkins and you know what I mean segment says one sign of American racism. The government will give white people billions to ineffectively educate black people, but won't give black people hardly any money to effectively educate ourselves. So with that, we go into our commercial break.
Looking to podcast shows and do not know where to start? The Evening Rush Network can help you with that. Call us at 929-441-2417 or email us at theeveningrushnetwork@gmail.com for dates and prices. We got you for all your podcast needs. The Evening Rush Network. Tune in, subscribe, and share.
What's up, y'all? Your boy Shice, Mr. Talk of the Town, letting you know now the Evening Rush Network now has the app. So catch it on the Google Play and the App Store. And you can catch all your podcasts like The Evening Rush, Let's Talk Crazy, The Queens of NYC, Sex, Love, and Alcohol, Plug, TL Mac Fitness, I Am Nicole Clara, On Everything, and Get Into the Focus, and all in one place at the Evening Rush Network app. That's right. So catch all your favorite shows. What are you waiting for? Download it now.
All right, we're back. Okay, and we are sponsored by none other than my favorite community organization, Baller. My baby, something that I helped found with a few other good people, Big Apple Leadership Academy for the Arts. We are doing so much and so well in the terms of being recognized and such. We are also on Instagram at Plugged MJ. We are also on Facebook. That's Plugged with Molly and Joe. We're back to Baller. That's one of the organizations that allows me to understand about our next topic, which is exploring Black Power, what it looks like, what it is, what it means today, right? Exploring Black Power is our topic for today. The reason for it is because we need to understand, what it is, right? My first question that I broached to myself and to our panel in the meeting was, is Black Power equivalent to white power? Is Black Power equivalent to white power? I'll go first. I'll go first, Zachariah, in saying that no, it isn't. But what do you say, Zachariah?
I say no. That's impossible because the two movements, the actual acts of those two movements are carried out way differently. White power looked like lynching and KKK. Black people was blacks fighting for freedom and civil rights. You know what I mean? And
Right.
empowering the Black community that have been oppressed and their words and speeches and opportunities suppressed for so long, and it's still going on today. You know what I mean? So that whole movement was shut down. More than likely, I'm sure government agencies had a hand in that, as we can see through the news as it came out years later after civil rights movement and things like that. But that's why it has changed, which is why we're talking about this topic today, exploring white power, because the facets of Black power has changed. The definition of what it looks like has changed.
Right.
And for reasons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it has changed. It has changed, and I guess we're going to speak to those reasons as we continue into the topic. So for me, Black power is definitely not equivalent to white power, because white power, like you said, was about putting the boot to the neck. Basically, it was barbaric in a sense. In my eyes, it was very barbaric.
No, not in your eyes. That's a fact. I mean, when you talk about burning people alive and throwing babies in the air for target practice, and lynchings and all that. What are we? That's barbaric. It's
a
not.
Spade
It's not
is a spade, right? A spade is a spade.
Not a perspective. That's inhumane.
Exactly. So, and Black power is all about humanity. So there's the difference there, right? So we got a difference. It's not equivalent because we're about humanity and they inhumane. So that's simple. What thoughts and emotions are evoked when the term Black Power is heard? So, because when I hear Black Power, I feel good. I feel strong. You understand what I'm saying? What makes you think? Why is the white man afraid of hearing that from us?
I think it speaks to what we just said. They know deep down what it's almost like white people looking down on white trailer trash, right?
Hmm.
White
Hmm.
rich people looking down on poor white people, right? But
Uh-huh.
they know the history of what that Confederate flag stands for. So the
Right.
rednecks out there that are flying it still today, they're like the ignorant, white supremacists or whatever. But the
Hmm.
white community that's not doing that, that still has the stigma of racism that they grew up with, like white privilege, and not even knowing what the underlying themes that they grew up with taught them to be racist
Right.
subconsciously. Now
Right.
they walk around and when they hear Black Power, is because you know what that white power was about. You know
Right.
that was
Hmm.
lynching and that
Hmm.
was the
So
attempted genocide. You know
So in many ways, it's a guilt factor, right? I feel
exactly.
guilty because of what white power meant to me.
Yeah.
That as soon as I hear Black Power, I automatically think they're about to come and lynch us, right?
Yeah.
Automatically, they coming to lynch us. They're coming to kill us. They're coming to do us dirty because that's what white power meant for us. That's
Yeah.
the reason why I think they're so fearful about
Yes.
our people,
Yes.
especially and then in fact that we're super mythic in their eyes. You understand what I'm saying? Like we jump the furthest. We do this. We hurdle. We we,
I
we
mean, resilience as far as just in the physical and mental aspects of a human being. I mean, it's
right.
things people can see this, and it makes people silently envious or silently afraid, and the fear is so unconsciously um happening
Embedded
because
is
be-
embedded.
because when you're looking at, okay, for instance, you walk into a black man walk into a department store, and the white lady following him around like he gonna steal something, like
Right.
that view that she has that's in her mind, or man
But
that's
that
doing
goes
it.
into programming. That goes
Yes,
into programming.
but the underlying theme of that is fear from guilt, and it turns
Yes.
into hate.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I think
Because
that's
you hate the fact that you have to feel guilty about what you've done to somebody that you thought you should have been able to do. Like it's so psychological, bro.
exactly, and that's why the hate it seems justified, right?
Hmm.
Because now, oh no, 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 they are like this, they are like that, yeah, because now you don't have to face what happened. Now you don't want
Mm.
to talk about what happened,
All
and,
right.
and so you paint this fictional character in your head to hate.
No problem. So we got past the fact. So we're in agreement that Black power is not equivalent to white power,
No,
not in the slightest bit,
at
and
all.
that's just metaphorically and you know and any other way speaking, right? Um, Black power in the form of movements, right? In the past, we had the Garvey movement, we had the civil rights movement. Whether you want to side with the Martin Luther King Jr. side of things, or you want to side with the Malcolm X side of things, but then you also had other people within the civil rights movement, like you had the Freedom Riders,
Mhm.
and other it was other organizations.
Congregation of Congregation of Racial Equality Core.
Yes, yes, yes. You had the Nation of Islam, aside
Mhm.
from just Malcolm X. You
Right,
understand? You had the
right,
Black Panther Party. You know what I
right,
mean? And you had listen, even the Nation of Israel, something that's close to our upbringing. This is
right.
where we could say our studies is stemmed from. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And that was a symbol of Black power in the past as well. And then you go all the way back to the slavery days where it was Nat Turner and the slave revolts, or just trying to learn to read was a symbol of Black power. Like I'm gonna educate myself, right?
Yeah, I think
You know,
that still
so,
should be a symbol of it today.
yeah, so it's quite so we got so speak to the Garvey movement, right? So we got the Garvey movement in the sense of Black power. For me, the Garvey movement was about nationalism. It was about going back to Africa, right?
Yeah.
So that Black Power in that sense was about regaining our what's that called?
Heritage,
Yes,
culture.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, closure. We came, we were slaves. Now it's time to go home. That's the Garvey movement, no?
Yes. And I think that, well, we spoke about that a little bit last week, that, talking about building, communities, talking about, building opportunities for the Black community, and what that looks like when we still gonna be under this white rule. And if that's gonna be done properly, this is what Garvey was talking about. We need to go
Mhm.
back to, or Black people should go back to where they could do it in freedom,
So
right?
that's and then that was
In their own
symbolism
land.
of
Yeah,
Black power. That was the
yeah,
symbolism of Black power in that time. So in each one of these eras, we had something that we could look at and then be like, enamored with and be like, yo, that's Black power, right? So the
mhm,
civil rights movement, Martin Luther King Jr., he had a peaceful approach in a sense, you know what I mean? But was it so peaceful? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. But you know what I mean? But it was like he was playing chess, not checkers in a sense. You know what I mean?
absolutely.
Then you have Malcolm X, who was by any means necessary. One of my favorite quotes.
Mhm.
Anywhere, everywhere. You know what I mean? So let's speak to that. The civil rights movement, the variation of what Black Power, because Martin Luther King was symbolism of Black Power through a peaceful protest, and Malcolm X was symbol of Black Power through a little more aggressive approach.
Yeah, I think, something that happened of recent, in a reflection of that, what Martin Luther King did. He gave so much people hope. He gave back, he reinstilled that self-love and that community love, and through
Mhm.
unity of how many people he was able to bring together and make moves in the public. You know what I mean? With the Million
Right.
Man March, or the
And that
March on
speech,
Washington. Sorry,
and that,
March on Washington.
did a march on Washington.
Yes.
That speech
Oh
that
man.
rings through the years.
One of the
Basically, it's
most famous of all time, since speeches have been broadcasted, right?
right.
And I think, on the other hand, Malcolm X was more like, hey man, we've been trying this and we've been trying this, and look what's happening. I mean, look, while you're doing this and you got all these people together, next thing they're coming out with dogs and hoses and still taking us to jail. Like, how long we gonna keep doing this, right?
Right. So maybe they was right. They was right to be scared in the sense of what real Black power looked like. No.
Yeah, and here's a quote from a stem of the Black Panther Party.
Hmm.
Tupac said, he was like, he's like, we was knocking on the door, for a long time, talking about let us in, we hungry,
Hmm.
and he's like, and they got all the food on the other side. We peeking in the windows like, yo, we just want some food too. We out here
Right.
starving. He's like,
Right.
now, he's like, that was back then. We talking about civil rights movement. He's like, now we ain't knocking no more. We kicking the door
And
in
and
because
that's going to lead us to what's happening now, right? Movers and
okay,
shakers, and the people
there
that's
you
going
go.
to actually knock down them doors, right? Because remember, the Nation of Islam, you had Farrakhan, you had Elijah Muhammad, you had Malcolm X, you had, and then as you go through the years, you had what's the brother name, man? Recent years, the bald head brother, man, I can't remember his name. You know what I'm talking about? Muhammad? Is it Muhammad? Oh man! But listen,
Not sure you talking about.
I'll get back to him. But
Okay.
listen, but when we talk about the Nation of Islam, they are another symbol of Black power in the form of a movement. You know what I'm saying? Because they was storming through the 60s and 70s, man, and even now have a real, a real powerful stamp in America's society, America's society as well. I don't think it's as big as back in the 70s though, or back in the
Well,
day.
you talked about, that's kind of the root where we came from, right? With the Hebrew Israelite movement, right?
Mhm,
And how that started in the '60s here in the United States with
mhm,
Prince Nasir Yaakov, big up to him, right?
right.
And what he did was he also did that as well as instill a spirit in the people to bring them together and get connected with their roots. Only
Yeah,
thing at that time, it was just coming out of the civil rights movement. It was just after, we get Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, the two greatest leaders of that movement, get assassinated. Things started to rev up a little bit, and we had,
right. And
yeah,
consciousness in a sense, because
and
that's where you start having more of these organizations. Because speaking of the Nation of Israel, something that I was actually born into. You know what I
Right.
mean? I was born
How we
as
met, as a matter of fact.
exactly how we met, as a matter of fact. And I don't stem away from that thought or them or those mentalities of how I can carry myself in this world. And that's the reason why you have Plug with Molly and Joe. That's the reason why you have Baller. That's the reason why you have everything that's positive about me, is because of the Nation of Israel and them being a symbol of Black power in how I get into the Black Power movement. You understand what I'm saying? Because everybody's not promised to be born into this mission the same way. Like you happen to be born to a white civil rights leader. I mean, to a white civil rights activist.
Yeah.
Man, he's a leader, man. F
I
that.
mean, all right,
He's a
I
leader.
take that. I take
He,
that as
he,
my
he,
pops.
he led you.
Yeah, I mean,
You
he did.
understand?
He did lead a few of the projects with Core and got some things done, man.
Right,
But
he's
I
a
mean,
leader. Just
okay,
because he's not on the upper echelon doesn't mean he wasn't a leader. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Because his story allowed for you to pay the path for you to become
yeah.
who you are as well.
Another unsung hero, you know. So
Yes,
it's good to bring up
yes.
things like that all the time. But you know,
Mhm.
also when we talk about like where what is the difference of what Black Power looked like then and today. You know,
Mhm.
when you talk about the beginning of that movement we just spoke on, there was a heightened sense of Black Power at that time, and I think like going back to how it can never be white power, because you have people that are with the white power movement, they hate everybody else that's not white. But you have people that talk today what Black power looks like today, blacks that have a sense of pride and are into building the Black communities. um, it's not that you hate everybody else, you just want to be equal rights and equal opportunities and be able to reignite that sense of pride in a people that where their culture the brainwash is so heavy that self-hate is strong, that these stigmas are still upon us from the days of Willie Lynch, you know, what's called the Willie Lynch syndrome and things like that. So to build the Black community is not a bad thing. To call it Black power, it looks different to where you don't have to hate other people. And in the time of the
Right,
70s, people, there were brothers that took it that way.
right.
And you know, it's respectfully, we have to look at it and say, oh, this is understandable, because look what's happening in the Black community, and it's still happening. Our leaders are getting assassinated. You know, people are getting killed out here in these streets every day. Police are
Listen,
you know,
listen. And like we always say that we could keep speaking to this till we blue in the face, bro.
yeah.
You know
And
that. You know
and
that.
so
And
so
that's
so
not. Mm-hmm.
if,
Go
if
ahead.
people if people I just want to say this, because people outsiders look at it a different way and criticize the Black power movement, and they use it as, okay, well, that black man that says Black power and he hates white people, all right, but
No,
he has reason.
we already
hold on hold on
established. We
hold
already
on hold
established.
on
You know what
hold
we
on
established.
that black man that says that, he also has reason to, number one, and
Mhm.
then secondly, not that's not what it looks like all across the board as far as the Black power, what it means today and who
Right.
supports it.
But that's what we're going to speak to next. We're going to speak to what Black Power means today, because, like I was explaining, the Nation of Israel is my way into what Black Power is. The Garvey movement is somebody else's way of what Black Power is. The Civil Rights Movement is somebody else's way of what Black Power is. Nation of Islam is someone's way of getting to their level of what Black Power is. So the way we get here means nothing. It's the job that we're going to do as we continue forward. You
Mm-hmm.
understand?
Mm-hmm.
So the term Black Power means nothing if you don't put the power in it. You know what I mean?
Right.
We got to put the energy in it to even have it to even have a movement, correct? Because Baller
Absolutely.
is a movement. You know what I mean? Plugged is a movement, but we got to put the energy in it, right? So
Yeah.
methodology today, when in terms of Black Power, right? What does that look like, right, Zach? We say, what does that look like? What does Black Power today look like? Because we're exploring it. We're saying, okay, Black Power back in the days looked like military and violence and protest and kicking and scratching for everything. You know what I mean? Because remember, you're talking about what's that? Good times. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Scratching
Yep.
for survival. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Good times, scratch. Yeah, listen,
Yep.
we're just trying
Yep.
to survive, right?
Yep.
We passed that now today, right? So we passed trying to survive because we're here now. We're survivors. We did that, right?
Right.
So what does it look like today? It looks like politics and grassroots community work, right? That's Black Power, right? But
That's
isn't
right.
that some of the same things? But no, we're sitting on them seats.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
pushing and supporting of the HBCUs,
Yeah.
entrepreneurship, but something that's also back in the days as well. Because remember, back in the days, we did have entrepreneurs. You know what I mean? We had Black Wall
Like
Street.
Wall Street. There we go.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know what I mean? And I think we was very. I saw symbols of us being more self-sufficient back then than now.
Yeah.
I think we lean on the system more now than we did then.
I would disagree, and I wouldn't say that black people are leaning on the system, because remember, this system is very diabolical. It's very systematically. It's
Speak
very
on it.
systematically structured to where,
Mhm,
we talked about last week also the deindustrialization of the school system and the workforce.
mhm.
And it's the opportunities are not there. So what's happening now is going it's affecting the home, it's affecting the community. So if we're going to talk about what it's supposed to look like today, like
Mhm.
we always speak about this too, it has to start with education. It has to
So
start with
give me 1 second before we go into what does Black Power look like today, right?
okay,
Because
okay,
I want to clarify the methodology used in times past
okay,
and the methodologies used today, right?
okay,
To symbolize Black Power, right? We spoke on in the past, it was protest.
yeah,
It was scratching and surviving was one of the
hmm,
symbols of Black Power, just us being survivors, right?
hmm,
And then we also have the list of first, meaning meaning we broke the system in a sense to where we was the first Black such and such, or we was the first Black this, first Black that, first Black
okay,
everything was also symbolism for me to seem, to show Black Power. Like you got the first Black owned bank was True Reformers Bank, founded in 1889. You know what I
hmm,
mean? Why is that important? Because that breaks the barriers that was up before us, correct?
that's absolutely.
Okay.
um
Go ahead.
uh, uh the in politics, the first black senator. But I think we talked about that also when I was bigging up Dr. Claude Anderson, and he gave some good facts on that
Hmm.
about first black senators. I think it was 1948,
Hmm.
right? So I don't know. These are huge stepping stones, and like you said, that's that of each era. There was symbols of what it looked like, and I think
So
what is still
we spoke on a lot of the past ways of what Black Power looked like. We spoke to the history of it, the Garveyites and the Martin Luther King Juniors and Malcolm X, and we forgot to mention Nelson Mandela and his fight against the
absolutely
apartheid and stuff
apartheid
like
movement. Yeah.
that. You know what I mean? Or I'm sure it's so many we fail to mention when we talk about movements, right?
Hmm.
Um, but now let's finish out our show with today, because dwelling on the past does not help what's the here and now, right? So the methodology today to enforce Black Power and to have a Black Power movement and to show Black Power would be, like I said, we use methodologies using politics and grassroots community work like BALA, like Big Apple Leadership Academy for the Arts. You were speaking about another organization there in California, no?
Yeah. I think it's called NOLA. I'm not sure if that's even the correct name. I should have that actually. That shame on me. But there's actually two community programs right now one in South Central, one in Compton, and one is an actual farm, and it's right in the middle of the hood where black children or underprivileged or people from the Compton community, which is primarily black, are able to go and ride horses and learn farming and all of that. And the other is actually a musical program in South Central schools where they pay they get funding to give it to bring instruments to kids that can't afford it in these underprivileged
Hmm.
schools in the middle of the hood. And now you got black children as young as 6 years old learning to play instruments, everything from classical to jazz to everything in between. So
That is dope. That is super dope
And
because
shame on me for not having that, but
that's super dope because that's basically what baller is all about. You know what I mean? We're
yeah,
trying to put
yeah,
instruments in these kids' hands and take the guns out their hands. You know,
yeah,
the pushing and supporting the HBCUs speaks to the education. Like now, Black Power is educating ourselves so much to where we could now turn around and you know we gain the information, you know, gather the information necessary to where we now can turn around and educate ourselves because at one time or another we had to learn from them. At one time or another, that's all we could do was learn from them. Now we're able to take what we're learning, incorporate it to ourselves, and now teach it to ourselves. And that's pretty dope. That's Black Power. We got a lot more politicians. I mean, we got a lot more people in the room now, right?
yes,
Let's clap it up. We
yes.
got a lot more people in politics now. He used to be the first Black mayor. Now it's now it's the second. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He used to be the first Black mayor. Now it's the second. So I guess we're progressing in that sense. We had a black president. We got a Black vice president. I mean,
That restores things for the community. That restored, believe it or not, it was a lot bigger than people acknowledge when Obama was became the first Black president. It restored a sense of Black pride all over the country. You know what I mean? And all of those firsts do that, and that's why I think it's good for us to
right,
highlight them and talk about them because they don't teach you this in school. You
right,
know what I mean? They don't teach
right,
you. They don't teach you that a Black man invented the street light. You know what I mean?
right.
Which is something that without it, everybody would be chaotic out
So,
there.
so we spoke to education. That's like pushing and supporting our HBCUs. That's our education, taking advantage of education opportunities, and then begin educating ourselves. Correct.
Yes,
Uh, Another symbolism of what Black Power may look like today is the nucleus of the Black family being strong and solid, where you have the Black father and the Black mother in the household, where you have teachings and from the household, right?
absolutely. In home, at home, and that's where it really starts. All education starts at home, right? But like we were discussing how education is so important. This is what it looks like today. But you mentioned about okay, we don't only want to talk about what it looked like in the past. Let's talk about, but it looks the way it does today because of those past movements. If you look at men
Yeah,
like Garvey and Martin Luther King and
they
Malcolm X,
spoke to they spoke to being a family.
and
Correct.
and and all of the great leaders were highly educated and self-educated at that,
Hmm.
and so I think that's what's so important when it starts in the home, to educate our children, to give them that sense of pride and give them the truth, you know and educate them correctly on history and what's going on today.
Yes. And we must be, as Black Power today looks like, we have to be well rounded in all aspects of life. We can't be closed minded at anything. We have to be able to explore different ideologies, different theories, different logics, right? I mean, because
Absolutely.
me personally, that's how I feel empowered in being a Black man today. Is that I'm able to be in any room in that sense to be able to communicate, to be able to talk the talk and walk the walk in that sense. So I think Black Power is the confidence to be able to step in any room and demand their attention. And
Yeah.
that's how I feel personally.
Yeah, and that's where education comes in too, because the ability to articulate yourself and understand concepts and theories and history and convey it in a message that is so impactful because it's the truth. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Then that breeds a whole new respect, when you walk into a room. And since
Right.
since 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 that's something where there's so many stigmas and stereotypes out there of what the Black man looks like or the Black woman is, you start to crush. That's why I said I speak of myself that way. I crush a lot of these stereotypes and perspectives when I start opening my mouth because I'm not. Whoa, this guy's different to what I thought he was, and that's what education has the power to do, and it has the Black community is doing it now in a sense. So we have to highlight those things a little bit more, to
Right.
make to change
Right.
make
Because
changes.
yeah, indeed. I mean, being well rounded and what the key is and all that we're saying is education because you can't get into politics, you can't get into grassroots community work, can't get into these HBCUs, even entrepreneurship, any of these things without having some form of education. So the key to Black Power is what? Education.
Education.
It's learning. It's being knowledgeable. It's absorbing the information that's given to you. It's just eating it up, gobbling it up as much as you can. And that's what.
Why is that so? Why is it so important? Because it was stripped away. Culture was stripped away. History was stripped away. You were taught that you can't read a book or you get killed because they didn't want you to learn about who you were. And today we're still fighting with the school system and trying to educate ourselves on our own after school to learn more about who we are, where we come from, and restore that, sense of pride. So Black Power is also restoring that sense of pride.
Right. And then what also Black Power can do is lend from what religion has is a unity, right? Most religions have this one thing where they're unified in their thought, in their ideologies, in their patterns of doing things. And I think Black Power can lend to what religion does just by unity alone. We have to do this together, people. You know what I mean? Like there is no plug without Molly and Joe and Zachariah and Jada in the background. You know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
more people that's going to start coming in and doing the shows, whether it be our guests or anything. And unity is the key for Baller. Unity is the key for anything that you're doing in life, Zachariah, or anybody that's out there listening to us. Unity is the key because you're not going to be a lone wolf doing none of this.
And personally, I'm faced with a struggle all on my own because I'm raising 2 Black sons. And so, like, what do I know about Black Power? And obviously,
You know a lot, brother. You know
I
a
have.
lot, brother.
Well, I mean, I have some insight because of how my father raised me and who he was. And never did I like, oh, I think I'm Black, or my pops taught. No, my pops was like, we are who we are, man, and but you have to be able to see something. And my pops was the type, he wouldn't stand for no injustice, man. And
Right.
so for anyone, you know what I mean? And so that's how he raised me. So now that I'm in this position now, and I understand the systematic agenda, and I understand the pressures that are coming at Black folk from every side, I have to understand that plight. I have to try to understand it and hear.
And you lived amongst us, bro. And you
And
lived
I have
amongst
to be able to listen also. So,
us.
it's platforms like this are excellent for me to learn more too, because I'm raising 2 Black sons as a white man. So quote unquote,
Right. Quote
So,
unquote.
so
White
I
man.
will teach them Black
White man.
power and Black pride. You know what I mean?
And you can, brother. You have listen. You've been invited to the barbecue, as they say, brother.
Hey,
Matter of fact, you can host it. You can host the barbecue.
Believe it or not, I break that stereotype too. I make a bomb potato salad.
Oh man. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Big ups to that, man. Listen, listen, this is one of them shows that I actually really enjoyed. I enjoyed the back and forth. I enjoyed every aspect to it. I don't know if our producer enjoyed everything because sometimes we go on tangents. I don't know. I don't think we really went on a tangent today. I think we was pretty good. You know what I mean? But just letting our producer know that we peep. You know,
we might not always stick to the script.
We hear you in our ear, but guess what? It's always calculated. Trust me, it's always calculated. It's always thought out, and it's always a reason behind where I'm going. All right. So with that,
we love you, Jada.
Exactly. With that, man, listen, you plugged out of the norm. You plugged into what we're doing here at Plug with Molly and Joe, along with Zachariah. And guess what? I say, don't plug back into the norm. Stay focused, man. Stay focused, man.
Yeah.
And
plug
guess
out,
what?
Unplug from the Matrix and plug into the truth.
Right. And Matrix be out soon. Going to see it.
Oh,
Woo! Peace.